Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 Dior fragrances, so stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Really do appreciate it. Before we get into the video, leave a comment down below. What is your favorite fragrance from Dior, private blend, designer line? Let me know. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to start with my number 10 fragrance, and this is number 10 mostly because I'm talking about a sort of partially discontinued fragrance. It's not available to my knowledge in America or Canada. Still available, I think, in Europe, and that is DIOR Intense. Now, you can still get the 2020 version in Canada, in North America, but I really don't like it. If you really like that irisy makeup bag feel that a lot of the original Dior Homme had, that's a good one to try out. You will probably like it. I didn't. It just smells like a makeup bag to me. What I like about the older version that can still be got, to my knowledge, in Europe is that it has this beautiful cocoa vibe, and that iris is not as strong. It's not as robust. It's not as much of a makeup bag feel. And so to me, it has a little bit of that sort of gourmandish sweet tooth vibe that I really, really enjoy. And I really do like that one. Performs fantastically. It is a really great fragrance, and I would say give it a chance even if you don't really like iris. I'm not a huge iris fan, but I do like that one. Next on the list is also, I possibly discontinued again, so this is why it's lower on the list, but it's a Dior Homme Eau. Now again, this is from the Homme line. It does have iris in it, but the big thing for me about this iris is it doesn't smell like a makeup bag. So it does have a very nice, clean, masculine feel to it, even though it is very heavy in the iris. I want to say it's a little bit powdery, but it's not really powdery in the sense of something like, if you think of how Très Nuit can smell quite powdery at times, it doesn't have that kind of powderiness, but it does certainly have this sort of clean, musky vibe that works really, really well, and I do really enjoy it. It also performs really fantastically. Was not expecting the performance that I got from that one, but it's very, very long lasting, and it does project pretty well as well. So if you think about a clean, masculine, easy to wear fragrance, one that's likable, to me that's Dior Homme Eau, and it's probably one of my favorites from the line, actually. Next one is going to be Fahrenheit. Of course, it had to make the list somewhere. This is, talked about a lot as smelling like gasoline. I didn't like this one the first time I smelled it. It was actually pretty repulsive, but it really did grow on me very quickly. It actually only took me the second smell to really enjoy this one, to really appreciate it. I do actually like the smell of gasoline, and I know a lot of people actually like the smell of gasoline. Even though that's not actually a note, it has a heavy violet note, which can be very uplifting, almost sweet, but not really. And it has a very rich smell to it. And for me, that's what I like about it. So it has this very rich, deep, pleasant smell. And I think that's sort of the gasoline vibe that a lot of people talk about, but I like it a lot. And I think it's one that's definitely stood the test of time. It's been around for quite a while. It will probably be around for a while still, although probably not forever, because it is definitely getting older, but it's a fantastic fragrance. Next on the list is another older fragrance, and that's Eau Sauvage. And I was not expecting to like this fragrance at all. It's very old, so I think that's the reason why I wasn't expecting to like it. I was expecting it to be very dated feeling, very, I guess not unpleasant, but very dated feeling. And to me, it really smells, even to this day, still quite modern. It has a really, really great barbershop style DNA that just works. It's one of those timeless DNAs that probably will never go out of style. I think this one was maybe the 80s or earlier, and it's still around. You can still buy this one, and it just works beautifully. Very masculine fragrance. So that is the bottom four. I'm gonna move into the top six, and a lot of people might be a little unhappy with this one, or might not like this one as much as I do, but I had to put it on the list somewhere. And even if you're not a big fan of the fragrance, I think it should be on every Dior list for good reason. It's been extremely successful. That fragrance is, of course, none other than Dior Sauvage. I actually really, really enjoy this one. I think the EDT is my favorite, although I really like the EDP as well. Not a big fan of the Parfum because I find that the Parfum does not have the same freshness that I came to associate with Sauvage. I like the EDT because I find it a little bit more peppery, a little bit more sharp, and there's something appealing about that. It's got a sort of zing to it that really is very uplifting, although the EDP is also quite good. Both of them are extremely strong, so I would say this is one that I've even given myself a bit of a headache with the first couple times I wore the EDP, so it is one that I think should be sprayed a little bit more lightly. It's one that everybody is familiar with, of course. Very fresh, a little bit sweet, a little bit sharp. I don't really get the metallic vibe that some people talk about, but it does definitely have this sort of sharpness that almost gives off a metallic feel, in my opinion. But it's a very versatile fragrance. It's been very successful for a very good reason, and that is that it smells very appealing, very mass appealing. And to be honest with you, it's one of the only fragrances that I've really smelled on other people. So that's the main reason I don't really wear it, is just that I know a lot of people do wear it, but I also really like it, and it's also a no-brainer. So if you have some, or if you like it, it's great. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fantastic fragrance. Next on the list is the much beloved Oud Ispahan. And this is from the Private Blend, and it is a well done rose oud fragrance with leather. I first tried this one in an airport and I was very pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting to like it because I'd heard it's maybe a little bit more on the easy to wear side with respect to some of the oud fragrances, and that it's also rose and oud, which I don't really like rose and oud that much. But the rose is really nice, sweet, a little bit jammy, and it has a much more prominent leather and oud note to my nose, and I think that's one of the reasons I like it. The rose is not so overpowering that it dominates the fragrance and becomes a rose heavy fragrance, and it's just very well done leather oud, masculine with rose. So I think if you get the chance to get your nose on that one, definitely do. It is a good fragrance for somebody who wants to try oud but is a little bit unsure of what they might enjoy, or they don't want something that's very skanky and animalic, because who wants to smell bad? But that's a great one to try. Next on the list is Spice Blend. Now I know this one was actually released to sort of lackluster applause from a lot of people, and I admit it's not a groundbreaking fragrance in any way, but it is really well done for what it is. It's not quite what I had expected. I was expecting something a little bit louder, more like a spice bomb, but it really does stay quite different from that. It has really, really nice spices with a nice boozy quality that gives it an almost liquidy feel in the opening. And it does maintain a lot of that sort of rum in this fragrance with a really, really nice spice accord. I think it's got pink pepper in there, and some other spices that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it is a really nice, gentlemanly fragrance. It's more subtle, and I think that maybe was one of the reasons a lot of people don't like it or didn't like it, is that it is a more subtle fragrance. But I think, you know, for me, I like that there are some fragrances that are subtle, I can just put on, and it doesn't scream at everybody. Yes, there are times when I want to wear a beast mode fragrance, but other times I want something that I consider to be a little more gentlemanly, and a gentlemanly fragrance, in my opinion, is not a loud fragrance. It doesn't need to announce itself. It's something that will slowly draw you in as you become, or as you get closer to it. And to me, that's a lot of what Spice Blend does. Nicely done fragrance, very much enjoy it. Boozy, spicy, two qualities I really, really enjoy. And I do think it's underrated, or one that at least received a lot more negative attention than it should have. We are into the top three, and I'm going to start out the top three with one of my personal favorites, and that is Leather Oud. This is one that I talked about before. It is a very in-your-face fragrance with the respect that, to me, it's very animalic. It performs extremely well. It's very, very musky. I was trying to describe to somebody else, and I thought about maybe describing it as something like Anateus, but in a really intense version. It has this really beautiful kind of leather in there when you can pick it up, that animalic really up front. Now, the one thing I had mentioned is I'd talked about the older version. I believe it was a 2016 version or something like that, or 2010 version, I should say. And that version does have a little bit of a poopy quality, because I think that oud is a little bit skanky. Does also have some really beautiful features, a very rich musk that really can smell like animal fur. This really nice honey vibe that mixes into it and makes it very luxurious. But the inescapable fact that there is a bit of a poopy smell. The 2018, as far as I've tested, as far as I've smelled, doesn't really have that. I haven't given it like a full wearing, but I think it still has a lot of that animalic quality. It still has that leather, that luxurious feel, that very rugged masculine kind of feel without having that sort of skanky side to it. And I think for a lot of people that's actually something that would be an improvement. But I think this is one from the house that's not talked about all that much, but it is nonetheless a great fragrance, and it's a good masculine fragrance for those who are interested in trying it out. So I would say if you get the chance to get your nose on it, especially if you're in an airport or your Dior boutique and they have the exclusive, the private blend, private line, put your nose on Leather Oud, see what you think about it, see if you like it. And the next one is another one that is also not well talked about in the community. It was a newer release, I want to say 2018 or so. Not really talked about, nobody really talked about it when it was released, or not many people, and that is Purple Oud. So there's another one from the Oud collection in the Privé line. This one I also really like. I find it to be a fairly easy to wear oud fragrance in that the oud is very pronounced, but it doesn't smell skanky. It's not even remotely animalic. There's a slight sort of spicy, kind of pungent vibe to it, but not at all dirty. It has a really beautiful citrus on top that gives it a very fresh accord, and it does come off a bit watery too. So it has this really nice balance between this really sort of pungent oud that smells different, but very woody, very strongly woody, with this fresh sort of watery citrus. Really well done. Love that fragrance a lot. And if I was to buy one from the Privé line, this would be one of them anyways. The next one, number one, would be the one that I think I would buy and that I've been very tempted to buy. It is my favorite, and it's my favorite for a good reason. It's a fantastic fragrance, and it is gourmand, and that is Fève Délicieuse. Beautiful fragrance. Now I will say, opening first 5-10 minutes of this fragrance, I really didn't like it, and I still find it a little bit off-putting. It has kind of like a feel like somebody dropped lipstick in cocoa. So I don't really like that, and I didn't really like it. But within the first 15 or so minutes, this transforms into a really beautiful, absolutely fantastic tonka fragrance. There is this sour cherry note that starts to emerge in the mid. Absolutely fantastic. It has this beautiful, luxurious, creamy vibe. And it's very sweet and gourmandy. I believe, actually, I pick up something that comes across also like cinnamon. I think that's not a listed note, but the cinnamon to me is fairly prominent and does smell really, really good. Absolutely love that fragrance, and it is my favorite Dior. So anyways, guys, I'm going to cut the list there. Leave a comment down below. What is your favorite Dior? Is there anything I didn't leave or didn't put on this list that you think should be on this list or you think I should check out? Leave a comment down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.